Welcome to Comics League. I'm Jared, and today we are talking about Young Justice Phantoms, and that is the fifth season of Young Justice. And this season is pretty much at the point where I can confidently tell you it is my favorite season of Young Justice of all time. Granted, I like one and two. Three was I liked what they were doing with three. I understood what they were doing with three, and four I was like, but this one, oh man, this one. Oh, this is the fourth season. Okay, the fourth season of Young Justice. Now, I got confused because season five, because I'm waiting for a season five announcement. But anyway, so season four. So the way I'm going to do this is I'm going to go through it essentially arc by arc. I feel like that's the best way because that's the way these shows are organized. They're organized by arc. So I think that would be like the best way to do this. So let's get started. In terms of the first arc, the Martian arc, this was the longest one, or at least it felt like the longest. Because here's the thing: I understand essentially what they were doing. They were showing that Superboy and McGann are in love and all this stuff. They're getting married, and this is supposed to be like setting the stage for what's going to happen later on the season. I understood that. Just rearrange my desk. The issue that I ran into is that it went on for way too long. It was essentially like, okay, it's the whole wedding prep thing went for episodes on episodes on episodes where they did hint that stuff was happening, but still it's like, okay, until they got to the part where the Russian attack, Russian, that's quite a Freudian slip there, where the Martian attack happens, the white Martian attack. And I really, first off, I really enjoyed how they established like the dichotomy between the white and green Martians. And they show that there's kind of like an animosity between the two races. So I think that that's a really effective analogy for racism. And I really like the way they put it in there. Then I knew from the very beginning there that Superboy was not dead. There's no way they're going to kill Superboy. Didn't mean it didn't surprise me, but I was like, no, not happening. He's probably, and literally when it happened, I was like, oh, he's probably in the Phantom Zone. And then guess who turns out to be right. So anyway, the Martian arc, it was very interesting and established about how everything's so hopeful, and then right on the floor. And then we get the Tigress arc or the Cheshire arc. What I liked about this one is that, well, number one, it establishes it reestablishes the sisterhood between Tresher and Artemis, which I really liked how they established that and really hammered that in really well throughout the entire episode, throughout the entire arc. I also liked how, okay, so if those of you that don't know, so Oracle is in this show. Oracle is Barbara Gordon. She was Oracle, and I think, yes, season 3, I believe, is when we saw her as Oracle, because I think she was Batgirl in season 1 and 2. And Tevia could probably correct me in the comments. But when you see this, so let's just say, so what they show is in the comics, the way the Killing Joke comic did it is that the way Barbara Gordon became Oracle is that she was snuck up. The Joker came to her apartment and shot her in the spine. That's the origin for Oracle. Now you may be wondering, what's the origin in Young Justice? I'm glad you said that. I'm glad you asked. Origin this one is that so we have Cassandra Cain, or is it Cassandra Cain? I think it's Cassandra Cain, was assigned by the League of Assassins to kill the Joker. She ends up not doing it, but Barbara jumps in the way and her spine gets cut by Orphan's sword, and that's how they established the Oracle thing. And I'm like, that's an interesting way to do the origin without like doing the same thing we've heard 80 freaking times. So I definitely liked how they put that new spin on it. Next, I know I'm going through these really fast, but I kind of want to just, I'm going to talk about each arc individually, and then I'm going to go through my favorite parts of it. Then we get to go to the Magic arc. Those that know me know I'm a big fan of Zatanna, whether in the comics, in the show, in the movies, whatever. Still waiting for her DCEU movie. but I definitely like how she's been portrayed in Young Justice and how she's like a mentor to the magic users. I liked how Mary Marvel can't Shazam out because it's like she sort of becomes more hostile when she's like Mary Marvel, and they kind of do something really cool at the end of this season, which I did not see coming, but it was really cool. And I liked how they have like Clarion the Witch Boy returns, but he has to team up with the kids, with the magic users to fight the child, which is a new Lord of Chaos. Then I also liked how we got like an origin for Dr. Fate, where it's really like a close friend of Vandal Savage, I think was his son, or was a friend of his, Nabu's a friend of his. Then he got trapped in the helmet. So I definitely enjoyed that. Got the origin for the Lords of Order. There's so much in this one arc. We also got the idea where each of the people are going to take turns wearing the helmet. So it's not just one person being Dr. Fate. I really like that. I really enjoyed that whole idea. And this is also where you find out that Connor might be alive, because at one point a school bus keeps coming out of reality and coming out and coming back into it. And then at this point, Zatanna gets like a message and from like Connor. It says, "Someone help me." So she's like, "Wait a second." By the way, throughout this entire season, they interplay Connor in the Phantom Zone. Well, they don't tell you it's the Phantom Zone yet. They just tell you he's in this weird incorporeal realm, and then they reveal later it's the Phantom Zone. But anyway, next we get to the Atlantis arc, and I liked how they had like all this Atlantean like politics. It's like Arthur and Mara have to like broker a peace treaty among the kingdoms. This is very heavily, most likely inspired by the Aquaman movie, because that was basically the main plot of it. And I also really enjoyed all the character development that Calder got. And I definitely enjoyed how he got a nice beard. I love Calder's beard, especially when it's nice and short. It makes him look very, it makes him look more experienced and makes him look a little badass too. So there was that. Then we get one of the coolest ones, the New Gods arc. So what they establish here, so what essentially happens is that Rocket, Jay Garrick, and Forager travel to New Genesis to broker a deal among the superheroes of Earth, the Green Lantern Corps, and the New Gods to like police the galaxy. That's the basic idea. And then a few very important things happen in this arc that will be important later. And by the way, in the meantime, you have the interplaying of the Superboy stuff. So we have a little bit more of like establishing who Orion is. This is where like Rocket finds out that Orion is the son of Darkseid, in case you guys may not know. And we did a video on Darkseid War where they explain this. So back in the beginning of time, so for those who don't know, New Genesis and Apocalypse are like heaven and hell. Apocalypse is run by Darkseid, New Genesis is run by Highfather. And every time the planets align, they go to war. Now, to stop this, because the war would be catastrophic, Highfather came up with this idea. He and Darkseid would swap sons. In other words, once Highfather's son would go to Apocalypse and Darkseid's son would go to New Genesis. And that way no one would want to attack because they don't want to risk killing their son. Interesting, because Darkseid has killed his kids more often than I can count. But then, Mr. Miracle, scot-free, went to Apocalypse. He's new Highfather's son. And then Orion, Darkseid's son, went to New Genesis. And we see a little bit more of this apocalyptic influence in this episode where Orion goes nuts and starts like going like almost like Incredible Hulk level when he gets like very angry. And this is sort of a bonding moment between him and Rocket, because eventually he and Rocket start to trust each other. Really like that. Really liked how in this entire arc, Metron's kind of like is a villain, but is not a villain. He's kind of morally ambiguous. I really enjoyed that. And then we get to the episode Encounters Upon the Razor's Edge, where, okay, Kilowog and Tomar Ray encounter Razor. That's right, Razor the Red Lantern, or the Blue Lantern in this case. Those who don't know, they did in like the 2000s era, They did a Green Lantern animated show, which is basically 3D animation, and I watched a little bit of it. It's so good. But Razor was one of the Red Lanterns who turned good, and Razor shows up in this one, and it turns out that his whole arc is that he wants his Red Lantern ring back because he realizes that. So the Blue Lantern ring is powered by hope, but he has no hope left. So what happens is at the end of the episode, he ends up becoming a half Red Lantern, half Blue Lantern, like a hybrid of the two. And I think that's the first time I've seen it happen. I know that they have had where like like one person will be half one core and half another. It's the first time I've seen it, and it was so cool. He repairs a statue that he destroyed, and it's really cool. And then you have the episode where Darkseid, of course, it's Darkseid, sends Ms. Martian's brother, who's a bad guy, one of the Forager creatures, I can't remember his name, and Lord Zod, that's right, the son of General Zod, to essentially retrieve some things for Darkseid, I believe, or it's just to do stuff. So, so what happens is, I think it's like Awaken this creature or something like that. But anyway, the heroes fight the apocalypse people. That's what I'm going to call them. And actually, Tomar Ray gets killed. Now, there's another Forager creature, by the way, and she becomes an ally. Then she becomes a Green Lantern because Tomar's ring goes to her. That's actually really cool. I never thought I'd see a Green Lantern Forager, which I think that's really cool. And then, so yeah, Tomar Ray dies, which I'm like, that's interesting. I liked his art because remember, okay, so his sector was the sector that included Krypton, and he's always blamed himself for Krypton's destruction. And what's cool is that, so the planet that they're on, New Genesis, so Lord Zod awakens this Titan creature that's going to destroy the planet, and Tomar sacrifices himself, leaving himself vulnerable so he can defeat the creature. And he says, "I'm not losing another planet," and he doesn't. And he basically goes out like a hero. And it's just so cool. I love that so much. Next we get the idea. So in the next arc, the rescue arc is what I call it. We get the idea that, so now they know that, so Zatanna knows that Superboy is alive. She convinces Nightwing to return, and then they assemble the team from the intro for this season, finally. And they embark on a mission to retrieve Superboy. Their idea is they're going to take the bus and go into the Phantom Zone. And by this point, we've established the Phantom Zone. Then we've also established that Superboy encountered General Zod, and then through some Phantom Zone sickness, Superboy is now, first, thinks he killed Superman, because that was like his original purpose, to kill Superman if he turned evil, or evil according to Lex Luthor. So Superboy at this point thinks he killed Superman. He thinks he's a murderer. So then he allies himself with General Zod and becomes Zod's like adopted son. So that's what you have to know for Superboy. Then what I like is, then that's being interplayed with what's going on in the real world. In the real world, they figure out at one point that Connor's alive because one of the Legion of Superheroes characters went to the Phantom Zone with Superboy but escaped. And she basically shows up and tells them Connor's alive and he's in the Phantom Zone, because the way that this particular person goes, it's not Saturn Girl, it's someone else. Sorry, I'm terrible with the Legion of Superheroes names. Her powers is that she transports to and from her home world, but the middle ground is the Phantom Zone, so that's why she got caught. So she escapes and lets everyone know that, okay, so we can get to the Phantom Zone, we just have to open a boom tube. And that's where they get this cube creature, this cube mother box that's actually, so what Darkseid did, so in season 3, they established this metahuman trafficking ring, which means that these criminals would kidnap kids, turn them into metahumans, and turn them over to Apocalypse to be turned to soldiers. This one kid named Danny Chase, they took out his brain and put it in like basically a mother box. So he turns good because they free him of Darkseid's influence, and then he says, "I can open a boom tube and get you in there." At the same time, the team, and by team I refer to Rocket, Zatanna, Aqualad, Artemis, and Nightwing, go into the Phantom Zone and try to retrieve Superboy, but he won't go because he's allied with Zod. Then the team fights the Kryptonians. The boom tube opens and they haul-tail it out of there. Not before General Zod, Ursa Zod, and Val Zod get through. What's cool about it is that when Lord Zod was on New Genesis in the previous arc, he discovered Metron's vault. And in Metron's vault was the Emerald Eye of Ekron, which is basically like a futuristic Green Lantern power source that creates this villain called the Emerald Empress, and that's what Zod's wife turns into, the Emerald Empress. And that was actually really cool. I didn't expect that. And so Nightwing comes through as the team is like delaying the Kryptonians, and he tries to fight the Kryptonians before they can level up, because remember, level up, I'm a gamer, because remember, Earth's sun is yellow, and that gives the Kryptonians god powers. So Nightwing tries to fight them, but he ends up getting killed. You think they killed Nightwing, but he actually didn't. And at the same time, Zatanna opens a portal so the boom tube is closing. Zatanna opens a portal to the bus, and Rocket gets stuck and killed. You think she's dead, but she's really not. What happens with her is that Metron shows up and saves her in the time sphere, of course. So then what happens is that Nightwing is not killed. What actually happened is that, so what he can do is, so what he does is he basically puts like red paint on his head or something like that. And then through training he learned from Batman, lowers his heart rate to the point where it sounds like he's dead. In other words, it's another because I'm Batman thing. So there you go there. So then we get the final episode, which we find out that, spoiler alert, Nightwing's alive, and then the Kryptonians invade, but they actually subdue Superman, and Superboy is supposed to kill Kal-El. He won't do it because he says, but he's family. So what Zod says is that, actually, your friends aren't family, so go kill them. And then what eventually happens is Ms. Martian uses her psychic powers to make Superboy remember who he is. And then Superman and Superboy fight Val Zod and Lord Zod and knock him out, and knock Zod back into the Phantom Zone. And what also happens is who is it? The Emerald Empress, I'm going to call her, gets defeated and launched into space. And then the day is saved, supposedly. Now, I say supposedly because at the end of the episode, at the end of the arc, interplayed with the final wedding of Superboy and Miss Martian, have the scene where you have Darkseid boom tubed Apocalypse into the Phantom Zone, kidnapped the Kryptonians and has them on ice. Not only that, he has a new team of female Furies. All right, I'm pulling up the image real quick. Young Justice, female Furies. It was so cool. What a lineup. And what a post-credit scene. So you have Barda, you have Granny Goodness, of course, but then you also have Mary Marvel, which that's a shock enough. Then it's Supergirl. That's right. They just introduced Kara Zor-El into Young Justice, which is going to start off as a Fury. Now, astute DC fans will remember that in the Superman Batman Apocalypse movie and the Superman Batman comic, Supergirl, she gets captured by Darkseid and turned into a Fury. So that's what I think that this is loosely a reference to, which I love so much. This is such a great idea. So anyway, besides this, Superboy and Ms. Martian get married, and then the biggest oh no. So this whole time, throughout the entire season, Beast Boy is sort of mourning Superboy's death, and he's going through a bout of depression. They use this to have a message about mental health, which I love. That's fantastic. I'm glad they did that. But the problem is when Black Canary says we might need a sanctuary where we can go and rest from and like recharge. And I'm like, oh no, please tell me they're not doing Heroes in Crisis. Although here's the thing. So far, the writers of Young Justice are more talented than Tom King, and they have more respect for Wally West. So I'm thinking they could bring him back. They could, first off, they could bring Wally West back. But what they could also do is they could do the Heroes in Crisis idea well. It's just the idea of sanctuary, not necessarily the Heroes in Crisis storyline. So I have a little bit more faith in that. We'll see what happens there. So now that I've talked about the basic plot of the arc, so I'm going to talk about my favorite moments. Number one, and this made me think of Tevye. If you're listening to this, I got you, dude. So during the League of Shadows arc, which was the Cheshire arc, Talia walks in, and for one thing, behind her is Red Hood. So they're doing that. She's holding a Damian Wayne. And then Superboy and Superman obviously has John Kent, his son. So immediately after I saw that, I thought Tevye, because for those who don't know, Tevye is a huge fan of the Super Sons, which I am too. It's a fantastic idea. I still haven't read the comic. I will do that, and then I'll actually review on the channel. But the point is that we see those two, and I'm like, so close. And they could easily do a 5-year time jump. They've done it before. So I think in the next season, we'll get the Super Sons. Like they'll establish that Damian was like brought to Batman and stuff. I also hope that they bring back the voice actor who voiced Damian in the DC AMU, because I think he was really good at voicing Damian, make him sound kind of a snot-nosed brat, because that's Damian. So I really liked that voice actor. So I really hope they bring him back. A few of my favorite scenes were like seeing Superman and Superboy fighting in sync against the two Zods. That was really cool. I don't think I've ever really seen that really well. I also really enjoyed I loved all the New God stuff, because that's one of my favorite parts about DC is the New Gods with Darkseid and Apocalypse and stuff. Although I really wish we could just leave Vandal Savage alone, because this series is basically Vandal Savage is the villain the entire time. Gets kind of boring. I also like seeing the new female Furies, because Supergirl as a female Fury. Are you kidding me? That is so cool. And let's see, what else? Oh yeah, because a few of the female Furies were actually killed when the Justice League invaded the Metahuman trafficking station. And let's see, what else? I found the Violet Harper stuff with there were a few things that I would have cut from this season, like the whole Geoforce with Halo thing, because I felt it was really unnecessary. It was just unnecessary. It didn't really advance the plot that well. It just kind of held it off. It's like all of a sudden out of left field comes this. I did like how Brion forms his own superhero team to protect, I think it's like Markovia is his country. So there was that. I also liked in The Martian, okay, I forgot this cool thing. So when Superboy died, there was like an ash mark in the shape of a body. That's how people thought he died. That wasn't Superboy. What actually happened is that during the final battle, a time sphere miraculously opens in front of Lord Zod, and Lord Zod's like, great, I can go back and this is my destiny, to go back in time and stop all this from happening. He goes back to the time when Superboy, the coordinates are locked. So he goes back in time. The sphere brings him back to the exact moment where Connor is dead, killed. So he goes, oh, I'm supposed to kill Connor. This is great. He goes to do it. Time sphere escapes. So he's like, wait, what? No. It explodes, and he's killed by the kryptonite bomb blast. And he is the ash imprint of a human. I did not see that coming. I was like, oh, that's so cool. I love how this season like wrapped up all these plot holes. It was like really, really good how they did that. Expert writing. That's why I think that this show is like the best DC show we've had since Justice League and Justice League Unlimited. I will say that. This is basically a Justice League show, because the League shows up in some ways more than the Young Justice team. But I definitely definitely enjoying this show, and I think it's a fantastic intro to DC. But anyway, that's really where I want to leave it, because that's pretty much what I wanted to say about Young Justice. I'll be going on a couple of other live streams to talk about it. We should have dropped the links in here. But it's such a great season. It's really, I cannot stress this enough, one of my favorite seasons of all time. Like really, really, really fun. And I can't say this enough. It was like the beginning part was kind of long. I did like how we got a little bit more into Martian culture. That was cool. But it did feel kind of long, and it's kind of like, oh my gosh, can we get to the obvious plot action? They did what I like what they keep doing is showing like hints to Legion of Superheroes, like there'll be a Martian wearing a ring that's actually a Chameleon Boy. And you'll see like Saturn Girl in the background. The Legion was actually really cool. You had Saturn Girl, Chameleon Boy, and I forget who else. Who was in the Legion in this? Young Justice Legion. It was. Hang on, I'm just pulling this up. Okay, Phantom Girl was the one who saved Superboy. Okay, so it's Chameleon Boy, Phantom Girl, and Saturn Girl. Saturn Girl is like a telepath. Chameleon Boy is basically has the ability to shapeshift, and Phantom Girl has teleportation powers. So anyway, their mission is to go back and make sure Connor doesn't die, because Connor is what inspires the Legion. In the same way that Superman was the inspiration for the Legion in the regular comics continuity. So I like how they kind of link that to Young Justice. Anyway, so really liked how the Legion was used, because they're a tricky bunch to use, because they're basically just a younger version of the Justice League, but they're from the future. So it's kind of difficult to use them effectively. Bendis failed, well, because he's Bendis. As you can tell, I hate anything that Bendis has done with DC, because he hasn't done anything good. Maybe Batman Universe, but that's it. But anyway, I hear that Jeff Johns had a pretty good Legion arc. But if you guys have any ideas on great Legion of superhero stories, you can drop them right there. But I felt they were used really well, because there's just 3 of them. It wasn't like the entire Legion, which is like an army of superheroes. So they kind of like, I guess, localize the Legion, if that makes sense. So that way it's a little easier to digest. I also like Beast Boy's arc, where he's dealing with like PTSD from losing Connor and losing Brian. He's basically having an existential crisis. It's like this was always been building, and then losing Connor was like the straw that broke the straw that broke the camel's back. Man, I'm tired. I also liked seeing Racer, the Blue Lantern, turn to red and Blue Lantern. I love seeing Razor. She was so cool in that show, and he's freaking back. I love that. They even basically say that the episode that the Green Lantern series is canon, because he's like, oh, tell Hal I said hi. Yes, it's so great. I also really I like the Kryptonian stuff. I like seeing John Kent, because I like him as a kid, not as an adult who's trying to be Superman, but he'll never be Superman. Tom Taylor. I also really liked, see what else did I really, really like? Well, the action was on par. I love this show's action scenes. I love the magic arc. Love how we get to see Zatanna do a lot of stuff, because she's always been a character that I think has been criminally underutilized. They need to give her a movie at this point and have like I could see Alexandria Daddario playing her. Drop in the comments who you think should play Zatanna. But fantastic season. If I had to rank this, I would give it a 9 out of 10. Not 9.5 out of 10. 0.5 because it was kind of slow to begin with. That's it. 9.5 out of 10. That's it, because it was superb. I also really love what gets it to that 9.5. What gives it into that high marks is how it wraps up itself at the beginning, with like Lorzod being that imprint and everything. It doesn't leave any loose ends that can't be brought. Let me put it this way: it wraps up the loose ends that need to be wrapped up, like Lorzod and the Time Sphere. That was so good. Whoever's writing this deserves an Emmy for that alone. And also Metron being like this dude that'll just do that doesn't care if anything's morally wrong. He just cares about doing experiments. I like that. That's really cool. Heck yeah, Metron. On that note, I'm gonna end the video here. Hope you guys enjoyed my review of Young Justice. Drop in the comments what you guys thought of the season. And check out Tevia's channel. He does a lot of stuff on Young Justice and the Super Sons, and he's got a really great channel out there. So be sure to check him out. I'm sure he'll comment on the video, and when he does, just subscribe to his channel. He's got some great stuff. So drop in the comments your favorite episodes, characters, arcs, your favorite twists. Just start the discussion of Young Justice Phantoms, and I will be responding to the comments. Hope you guys enjoyed this episode, and I hope I'll see you next week. Bye-bye, everyone. Stay heroic.